Welcome back to another episode of Reusable Space Program. We're on episode 22 and you find us here with Cargo 4 approaching the station. This week we need to get that base finished off on the Mun. So let's get going. So it is approaching the station around Mun. We really need this week to actually make sure that we get that base finished off down on the surface, and also that we can start shipping some fuel out, because we've put a lot of fuel and effort into this thing and we need to start getting it back. So we've got our craft floating around there in orbit, and we need to get them doing stuff. So we've got the Mun tanker and we've got the tanker there just sat at the docking port, and they're not doing anything right now. We've got a lot of crew that are just basically sat doing nothing because we don't have fuel to provide it for them. But anyway, we're doing our robotic use again. I need to get the Kerbals actually involved, because Nakot is biting my head off at the moment to get some flight time. She's just been sat on station for so long, and Scott's been up there as well, I don't know how long, so he wants to do some stuff, but we'll see. We have plans for them, but it's going to take a little while to get it going. But before we can do anything, we need to get somewhere to store fuel down on the surface, and we have this little fuel tanker that we're gonna connect up. It's not the biggest, it's probably not the best, but it'll serve a purpose for us for now. So Cargo 4 is going to dock to it, not too bad of a docking, and it's going to pull away and just use its RCS to go the wrong way and bump into that really flammable fuel. It just pulls it away just in time. That could have gone horribly wrong in so many different ways. So Cargo 4 is going to basically deorbit around the Mun there, and it's going to do the usual approach which we've actually developed, which is, we've got some stuff to finish there. It's actually going to position itself retrograde about a quarter of the way around the planet, so about 90 degrees round. It's going to fire its engines and bring itself down, so it's about to hit the far canyon wall of the crater. Then when we drop down into a lower position over there, we're going to start doing a retrograde burn, and this time we have got, it was felt that there's a lot of fuel on board. I mean, there is. The reading on the left there is actually off because you've got those liquid fuel tanks on the actual payload. But we're just going to burn fuel because we can almost taste the actual fuel right now with the amount that we're going to be taking out of this planet. We're going to have a lot of stuff coming out of here, of this moon, very soon, and it's pretty infinite because this moon is big. So you know what, the only thing that stops us is how much we can get off the ground. Burning it on the way down, it doesn't matter, we can always replace it in the future. So yeah, we're not too worried right now about what's going on. We're a couple of components away from having a completely sustainable system here that we can just run in the background and get vast amounts of fuel from. So Cargo 4 comes in, it's just got to drop this down, and it's going to drive over, and it's going to be nice and easy, And then we decide, actually, this area of land here, I'm not sure I like it. We touch down, we have a look, and then, no, we're going to rock forward. No, we don't like it. Let's go back up. Just go straight back up. We don't like that. We can go closer. That's what we're doing. We're going to head closer. There wasn't a problem. Nothing at all. No problems whatsoever. Yeah, we've got loads of fuel, so we'll just do that, yeah. And you notice we're spinning all over the place right now. We're just trying to manage our speed. I'm not sure we should be firing our engines straight down towards the Mun. That's not the best idea. But you see, we've moved at least 7 or 8 meters closer to the mining outpost now, which is really going to help us a lot in the future, obviously, because that 7 or 8 meters takes nothing on wheels. I don't know why we did it. I think we're just practicing our landings, for the heavier payloads is what it is. Yeah, we're definitely doing it. I think Nakot was watching this from orbit, and just his head was in her hand. She couldn't believe that this was happening. So we dump it down there, check everything's okay. It was a bit of a rough landing, and off we go, sending our carrier craft Cargo 4 back into orbit. This thing is actually probably doing quite well. In reality, the actual landing, it was a little unstable. One of the disadvantages we've got is this craft, even when not massively laden, if it's got a light payload, it's not that stable landing on those legs. It would have been probably a better idea to put legs onto these craft, and I may look at doing that in future versions, but we'll see. It potentially also gets in the way of what it can do, so that's the debate that we have. So here we are. We're just moving this fuel unit along. It's going to dock onto the side of the converter there. Yeah, no, that's not gone on very well, has it? We're sort of lined up, but not quite sort of lined up. And this is one of those trying to dock on the surface of a planetary body There we go. Finally got it. So we put all of our feet down because we're now pretty much fixed. This is the mining setup done. We're sorted. We need to just stay here and not move, and we get that done. And we said stay here and not move. Why are we moving? What's going on? Yeah, that's right. For some reason, we have developed this odd ground shake going on. So we pull out the drills because terrible things could happen if they don't decide to do things. We fold away all the other stuff because I'm actually concerned at this point. We're concerned, not me. The program is concerned that actually this shake is a problem. But we modified the actual number of legs that were down, and that seems to fix it. So the rig should be okay now. So we've got our tanker in orbit. We've got our Munar tanker in orbit. We've got all of our mining system. But what we don't have is something to get the fuel from our mining system to our Munar tanker. So what we're going to send up is, well, I originally called this the Munar surface tanker, but that just got a bit, so I'm going to call it the fuel truck. It's the fuel truck, pretty much, okay? It's the fuel truck. So we're going to send a fuel truck up, and yeah, I could have got really spacey and clever with this, but we just built a truck. We just built a big truck. I'm going to be honest with you. It does have docking ports on it. It is going to be transported. You can see it's going up in the, I think it's the X5 there. And this will be one of the last flights of the X5 because we have something else coming along the production lines. While this is recoverable in parts, it's a bit annoying actually. Just to put anything up, it's a bit bulbous. It's not particularly. Let me put it this way: when we're advertising to potential investors and things like that for the program, they think it looks a bit weird because it's got this bulbous bit in the middle. It's limited on the amount it can send up, So we need to go bigger. We need to go better. Is what we're going for. So this is one of the final flights of the X5. So. It's a heavy load we've got in there at the moment, and this thing is just going to make it into orbit. We are eking out fuel there, and you can see there we've only just got us into orbit. And this is the fuel truck. It's not got any fuel in it. It's basically just a big truck that's going to transport fuel around, and you can see there we are wispy on the fuel situation. So we open up, we put ourselves in the normal orientation. We're going to bring something along to take it, and there you go. You can see it's got quite a few little bit of storage in there, and that's what we're going to be going for there. Meanwhile, the exploration team is heading back to the mining site because, well, we've put a mining site up now, and they need to actually make sure that it's able to be run, and we need somebody there to run it because we're going to actually need to do some transferring of fuel around, and we need some Kerbals involved in that process to make sure it's safe. What they do notice is on the way back that we actually have some of our cargo craft, you can just see there, flying overhead, which we think is quite cool. It's, we can actually see our own craft flying overhead. So we've got enough in orbit around the moon right now that you get multiple of them flying past. You can see there's the second one after the other. So we're filling the skies quite a lot. In fact, there's a lot more there than there is in Kerbin orbit, which is why, after moving all that machinery into Munar orbit and leaving almost nothing in Kerbal orbit, we're sending up the start of what we're going to call Dawn Station. This is going to be our station around Kerbin, and you will notice it is being launched on something quite different. This is the Zephyrus 1. This is one of our new craft. We have two. This is Zephyrus 1. It is pretty much 100% reusable. Yep, that's right. And I can actually reuse all of it. I can bring it back down. We can have a look at it. So Zephyrus 1 has an interesting little party piece because what we've actually done is that first stage is going to go pretty much into suborbit. And while it's in suborbit, we're going to unload the cargo, and it's then going to prepare itself to return to orbit. It's using the most advanced engines we now have access to with all of our science work that we've been doing. So we've got some nice advanced engines on the back there. You can see it doesn't have landing legs. It has structural components, and there we go, firing off its cargo. Right, so that's the second stage of the Zephyrus. The second stage of the Zephyrus is very much an adaptation evolution of the old X5 craft. We've just widened it, we've taken the philosophy of it and just made it better. So this can actually hold more. We reckon this thing can hold probably about 36 tons to orbit. Now, while that's in orbit, because it's now circularized, we can now watch the Zephyrus. And this is not a cut. I did not cut. I just jumped straight back to this craft. You can do this. It's completely possible. It's not that I'm having to do two versions of the same thing. This is in one cut. So we're bringing the Zephyrus first stage back through the atmosphere. It's going to use that rear ending and one of its engines just to slow itself down. We can't do a return to launch site with a heavy payload because this is a heavy payload we've sent up, but it's possible if we send light payloads up, this thing can go return to launch site. So you see there, we've got our drogue chutes out, we've got our main chutes out, we're coming down nice and easy. Yeah, we're landing in the dark, which is not brilliant for the first ever launch, but you know what? Doesn't do too badly. We do need to have a tiny little bit of fuel in the tanks, ideally, just to brace ourselves as we come down. But these main engines that we've got, one of them is just easy enough. So plops it down. Zephyrus 1, first launch, first stage, recovered. Second stage releases its payload, the core of the Dawn station there, you can see. It's a much bigger structure than we've had before up in orbit. It's got communication system, RCS, it's got sort of space for a number of Kerbals. It's got some of our bigger docking ports that we've just started implementing, and some interesting side ones that we're going to be using possibly, because we like a bit of rigidity. And this is actually part of a trial for what we're calling Project Gemini, but we'll get to that in the future. So the second stage of this craft, we're now looking at, right, we want to bring it back down. And we want to bring it reasonably back close to the KSC. We don't want to have to travel all the way around the planet. The Zephyrus first stage does that hop, comes back down, and it's within a reasonable distance of the launch site. It could be better depending upon the size of the payload. This thing, we're going to control where it comes down, so we should be able to get it a little bit better. However, you know what? Our return trajectories have never been great, so we need to work on that. So we close up all of our solar panels and things like that, and we're just going to bring it through the atmosphere. And this is very much the same approach that you would get with the older craft that we've used. We've got those top ports out just to increase a bit of drag there away from the plasma storm, shall we say. We've got all the fuel dumped down into the bottom there to give us a bit of weight. The engine compartments there, you'll notice it's got a shroud on it to just control it, just give us a bit of extra sort of control there, just, limit how much of the tank is being hit with flames. We fire our engines, slow down, and we're just going to come down in the ocean to the west of the KSC. So we've not gone towards the mountains. We did consider going as close as possible to KSC, but the concern there was that if we did that and it went wrong, we could hit the KSC. So we're still learning about this craft. So we're going to refine it. We're going to get closer and closer to the KSC as time goes on. And I'll show you some of those closer landings as we go forward. So obviously here, we're just going to burn off some fuel, bring it down nice and slowly. And there we go. And we'll just collect that one as well. So our team on Mun, however, is continuing back, and well, they come across something a little odd. Isaac and Gwyn they find a strange structure on the surface of a crater, and it looks a bit like a fossilized bone. Could it be something to do with the Kraken? Possibly. It's very odd. They take pictures, but they have to get back to base. So yeah, very strange. So here we are launching the second of our new craft. This time, this is going to contain the power generation for our new Dawn station, and some limited fuel storage as well. So this is going to give us the ability to actually use this as a bit of a fuel dump. It's not a massive fuel store, but it's enough. And this craft is basically, it should be a single stage to orbit, vertical takeoff, vertical landing. This is the Vanguard 1. So this thing has not got the thrust that the Zephyrus has got. It doesn't have the carrying capability of the Zephyrus, but it is a single stage. So this thing will take up about 7 tons. This is equivalent launch capacity to our previous craft, actually, to our X series. They're pretty much parable, and we've got a fixed size cargo bay in this, and it's not usually going to fill that up unless the cargo is very light and very big, shall we say, so bulky cargoes. So it has prepared itself, it's put itself into the normal orientation, and then we're just going to prepare for a docking. So we're going to aim to dock this thing with the core of Dawn Station. We do our usual thing where we're basically looking, ideally I want to do the rendezvous at an ascending or descending node, but if I can't, I don't have to, it doesn't matter. This thing, you can see, is a bit tight on fuel, but it's not too bad. Our engines in vacuum are not too bad. These are reasonably efficient engines, so we can do okay. So we come in and we just zero out our velocity there. You can see nice and easily. We've got enough fuel to take us back down. And then we're going to detach our cargo there and just move away from it. So the cargo inside the bay there, just need to detach it, and then we're going to use our thrusters just to pull us away a little bit, get everything sorted out, make sure that all of the RCS is actually turned on this craft, because we have actually deactivated it while it was being transported, just in case. And there we go, we can actually pull it out now. And that was an annoyance of mine, is actually setting all of the actual RCS up. And then we're going to do the docking with this on its own. We could potentially use the Vanguard one to do the docking, but it does have the ability to orientate itself and things like that with RCS. But these large components, this core of the space station, we decide, you know what, it's probably best if we actually get this to do it itself. So the new component there puts out its solar panels, because it is going to be supplying power, and we also want to number one, make sure it doesn't run out of power while it's doing this. So we're just rotating it around, getting it lined up. You can see it's got a lot of RCS available to it. It's designed to store actually a lot of liquid fuel. So it's got liquid fuel tanks within its girder structure, which is a really nice little addition to us. This station has the capability to have a lot of expansion done on it. I'm not sure we're going to use all of that expansion straight away, but there we go. Docked. We're going to unfurl the rest of our energy providing resources. We're going to put out of our solar panels. We're going to shut down all of the RCS on that extra power arm there, because we don't need them anymore. We've got the reaction control, the rotational control wheels and stuff in the core that's going to look after this and its RCS system. So all of our power is now supplied. We put out our radiators, so we're actually cooling down anything that needs to be. So we're ready to basically have that in orbit. And we've got Matt Kerman in there. He's helped develop the whole program, so he's going to stay on board, make sure everything's running for a little while the station gets up and going. But this should be our little hub around Kerbin from now on. And of course, we have to bring the Vanguard back down to Earth, or to Kerbin. Got to bring it back to Kerbin, which was a little hairy, shall we say. This is the first time that we've actually brought this thing back, and yeah, it's the first time you ever bring any craft back is nervous. But when you bring something back like this, that's quite chunky, and it is supposed to be an SSTO, and it's just managed it. You know that we have limited fuel on re-entry here, so if we come in too hot and it starts to overheat, we have very little we can actually do to fix it. So we come through the atmosphere, nose first, tail end first. Fuel's all been pumped to the back there as much as possible. We're coming down, we're running out one of our engines, just one of those 5 engines is running. We start to get a little bit of heat built up. We use a little bit of fuel that we've got very little fuel left though. Luckily this has got a large amount of tankage, so it's a little misleading, the amount of fuel on the left hand side there. That middle engine just running a little bit just to help there, and then occasionally we'll pulse it. And there we go. And we're pretty much almost out of fuel now. So we're coming through the atmosphere, all of the parachutes coming out. We've got that usual top port open to increase drag a little bit. The legs are out even though we are coming down in the ocean, and we're going to come down in the ocean just because we can. This is a first landing attempt on this one. If it goes wrong, we don't want anything nearby when it goes wrong. This was a very touch and go possibility. There we go, splash down, all done. So we're coming to the end of the episode, and as the episode ends, we find that the journey of Isaac and Gwyn is coming to an end as well. They are approaching the mining site, and it has changed a lot since they left. They can see that actually the structures there are quite staggering in what we've put together. Their little rover is dwarfed by what has been put down on the moon. So while we do some mining, we get some fuel, and we start to prepare to bring it back up and use it for something, and while Isaac and Gwyn get used to their new home, I'm going to say have a great one, and I'll see you next week.